This is going to be a bit of a rant, I'm afraid. So it's not my usual video. I'm literally just in the door after being close to 3 hours in the Apple Buchanan store in Glasgow. And it's been a terrible, terrible, terrible experience that I've had from there. Well, my point of view anyway, because in fact I've been there for 3 hours. My iPhone 11 Pro was the camera was broken. It wouldn't zoom in. Couldn't get the ultra wide lens, so it was non-functioning. And I've been trying to get it fixed for the past maybe three or 4 weeks. It's been sent away twice already. In fact, 3 times if you include the initial repair, which actually caused the problem with the camera. I originally sent it away because of a screen repair, paid £282, the full whack. I did everything the way I was supposed to do it through Apple. Everything was official. And I got that back and the camera wasn't working properly. Just the way I was telling you, no ultra wide lens, no time, it was defaulted to ×2, wouldn't go to, and then went to ×1 and stuck there. There was a problem with the camera. Now, it turns out that when I got that back, if they'd said to me, don't use your iCloud backup. By the way, your iCloud backup is absolute waste if it gets corrupted, because my iCloud backup was obviously, in fact, do you know, the more I think about it, it's a lot of crock of shit, because I've done several iCloud backups. And they've all been exactly the same, because every time I went to used my iCloud backup, the camera was still non-functioning. So I then was basically saying, something wrong with my camera, you haven't actually fixed it. Just to go back a bit, if I originally took it into the Braehead store, there's 2 stores in Glasgow, I took it into the Braehead store and they thought there was something not connected properly with the camera, so that I had to send it back. So I had to send it away. They couldn't fix it on site. They weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to. They wanted to, but they weren't allowed. This is the frustration, is their system. They weren't allowed to fix it. They could fix it, but they weren't allowed. But it turns out, there and then, if I'd set that up as a brand new device and not as my iCloud, the camera would be working, because what happened is when you replace a screen or something of that nature, get something physically changed, fixed with the camera, then if your iCloud backup doesn't work initially, set it up as a brand new device first. And if it still is non-functioning, then it's something to do with hardware. But if it is actually functioning, then it's the iCloud backup is corrupted, which fixed my problem eventually in store today. But until I got to that point, it was sent away again for repair. Again, there's no paperwork, there's nothing to tell people. I then had to go into a chat with Apple saying this is still not functioning. And they couldn't just look up the system and go, well, your camera has been repaired, it's been replaced, so there must be a problem. Let me do a diagnostic over the phone. Blah, 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 blah. Right, okay, there is a fault with the camera. Try doing a backup as a new device. I'll talk you through it, blah, blah, blah. If they'd done that, I would have been fixed. It would have been fixed. But because I'd sent it away for a second time, first time that I didn't pay for, it came back damaged. And that's what the problem was. It was actually damaged when they'd obviously changed parts of the device. So then I phoned up and said, listen, it's damaged, still get the same problem, and it's now damaged. And I was very, very polite all the way through. I hadn't lost my temper at all. Very, very calm, very, very understanding. And they said, well, you have to send it away again and we'll make sure that the damage is repaired. Now, that basically means you're getting a new device. No, I got a reply saying they couldn't find anything wrong with it. And that was it. Nothing to do with the cosmetic device, the cosmetic damage. Now, the reason why they couldn't find anything wrong with it, because they were setting it up as a brand new device. And I was setting it up through my iCloud, my backup, which is obviously corrupted in some way. But this is the problem. They obviously do a backup of a backup of a backup, because it doesn't matter how many backups I did. it would still come up to the same problem. So basically you have to do a fresh backup, which they don't. They just put a layer on top of it, so it's not a full, large, like 200 gig backup or whatever. So I then decided when I got it back the second time, basically with a letter saying that it had been completely fixed. They couldn't find anything wrong with it, even though there was a problem there. They didn't then suggest, okay, try setting up a new device. No, nothing like that. It was only when I went into Braehead, the Buchanan store today in Glasgow, that after again telling my story over and over and over to different people, I had to do it again to this person today, who was very nice about it. Don't get me wrong, nothing to do with him. And he said, have you tried as a new device? Once I did that, it was fixed. So at this point, if there wasn't any cosmetic damage, I would have then gone, right, well, I have now been put out by a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. What kind of compensation are you going to do? Because this should have been fixed the first time, the very first time. What you should have told me right now should have been told when I went to the Braehead store after my first visit. Have you set it up as a new device? So there's obviously a breakdown in their training. Or could you not have asked a colleague if he didn't know? You know, that sort of idea. Anyway, they were going to offer me, because of the cosmetic damage, they were going to offer me a replacement. And they had it right in front of me. It was literally, it was like there. It was like, oh, it's my new device. But they couldn't give me it because I had set up a financial agreement through Apple. And because of that, I didn't own it. The bank did, which is Barclays in the UK. And in order for me to get a replacement, they have to port over the device details, which they can't do because I'd originally sent my phone away to the depot. And the only people that can do that now is the depot. So the depot have to replace my phone. So I ended up have no phone. I've got no phone. They've got my phone. They're going to send it away and I'm going to get a brand new phone. So they say I'll get a brand new phone through the post. But I couldn't take the one that was right in front of me. I wasn't allowed because I took it through finance. So the basic upshot is do not take finance. Do your own finance if you can, because if you have to replace it for whatever reason, there could be complications. There could be complications. It's just an absolute... the system is absolutely wonky. I still have been out of a phone now for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm still been out a day off, basically. I've been up at Glasgow all day. Waste of time. Absolute waste of time. I'm livid. I'm livid with them. I really am. Not individuals. You know, the other thing that they said, another person come along and they start talking about finance. This is another cricker. They said, well, I'm sorry, there's a problem with your finance. So what we have to do is cancel your agreement. But if we do that, there's a chance that you won't get another agreement. I know it's nothing to do with your finances, it's just sometimes that happens. And you will be out of phone. And at this point, this is where I went, no, excuse me? Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? I'm trying to stay as calm as possible here, but I've been here for over 2 hours and that sounds ridiculous. That you're turning around to say to me that I can't get a new phone because I've got a financial agreement with you, albeit it's through your partner, Barclays, but with you. But because of that, I can't get replacement. And if I try to get that, if they try to circumvent that, I'll be without a phone and they won't be able to give me another phone and you'll still have paid up for 6 months and you'll have no phone to speak of. Consumer rights? I know. Consumer rights, how ridiculous is that? It is ridiculous. I will be making a formal complaint because this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm not just putting this on YouTube. I will be making a formal complaint to Apple because this is ridiculous. That for them to say that to me. It was awful. And at this point, I just wanted to go home. And I thought, right, take it. Send me one. It'll be 2 or 3 days, whatever, and I'll get another phone. But I should have had it today. In fact, I should have had it 3 weeks ago. In fact, well, not a new device at all. Because up until when I sent it away the first time, there'd no damage on it at all. There wasn't any damage. To be fair to the person in the store, they said, I said, look, it's just a little bit of damage. I know it sounds silly, but my phone was perfect. And now it's just a little tiny bit of damage when they've obviously tried to get the screen off. And he agreed with me. He said, listen, I know you think it's a wee tiny bit of damage, but that's a huge bit of damage as far as I'm concerned. That would annoy me. I'd see that every day. And so he was very understanding with it, but it just wasn't the proper training. And it was just that when I was told that I would not get my phone because of the financial agreement and I could lose my phone. I wouldn't have a phone to speak of, even though I've spent 6 months of payments at £50 a month or whatever it is. I would have lost that and I would have lost my phone. Apple, you have to be ashamed of yourself. You need to look into your how you deal with customers. We're human beings at the end of the day. I mean, when I went out the store, the person I had been speaking with the whole time was clearly embarrassed that he had to put me through this. It was ridiculous to him. I could see that, but who couldn't say that? Anyway, that's enough. I'm signing off now. I'm sorry for the rant. Hopefully better things in future videos. Bye-bye.